Thank you.
You want to give an introduction?
Yeah.
Like I do.
I am Meredith Addison. Most people just call me Mary, M-E-R-R-Y, like happy, because I've been an emergency nurse for the last 45 years, and I found out it helps just to be Mary. See people on their worst day sometimes. And I found years ago that knitting and all sorts of fiber crafts are extremely recreational. They are very helpful for me. My mom and my grandma taught me to knit at age 6, and I've knitted ever since, which means I've knitted for over 60 years. I'm here local in Vermilion County, Indiana. I live in Hillsdale, and I am still an emergency nurse. I will be for life. I just don't work as an emergency nurse anymore. So if you ever need me, contact the library. They've got my contact information. I would be glad to help you in any way, especially anybody you know from middle school age up who might agree to work in healthcare. I would strongly suggest they start as a first responder and an EMT, and those are the people who literally answer the call. They're the most precious healthcare providers in the whole entire world, other than your mom and dad, of course. And it's a great, solid foundational start to as high as you want to go, from first responder to state health commissioner to brain surgeon to whatever you may choose to be. I know an EMT who became a nurse, who became a doctor, who became a statesperson. So you never know. All right, so knitting, which is basically playing with fuzz. This is a hand knitted, hand spun fiber from a natural colored sheep. It's wool. It's not the softest, but it's wonderfully warm and very pleasant. This is called a skein. It's just a hank of yarn. I spun it on a spinning wheel that's got a treadle, and you just play with the fuzz and you draft it out, and spinning is just twisting. It's just putting a twist into the single fibers, and the twist is what gives the fibers their strength. So, skein, you just teach you how to do all this fun play stuff, because people have taught me. So there's a hank of yarn, or called a skein. There's a little bitty hank you can use as a decorative thing if you want. I will leave the library some of these books that are welcome to be borrowed, or if they are okay with it, for you to take. This is the magazine I get for spinning fibers, all different kinds of fibers: cotton, plastic, wool, flax, whatever there is. Anything with two ends can be spun. The Golden Gate Bridge was actually spun from pencil thickness fibers of strands of steel. So interesting stuff. So shawl. I've been making shawls because it's one size fits all. I start with 2 stitches down here, and at the beginning of each row I increase 1 stitch, and so it ends up being triangular, so it fits however you want to do it. So I'm ready for a new skein of yarn, because I only have this much left on this one. So I'll show you. Here are different size needles. This is called a cable needle. It's just the knitting needle attached to the other knitting needle with a cable. The benefit there is you can put masses and masses of stitches and shove them together, and then you can knit a whole blanket or bedspread if you need to with one needle. Other needles are straight, short or long, all different sizes. This is just really nice for me because I can shove a bunch of stitches on it at once. These are called notions. They're just little toys and tools that you use for knitting. This is a cable needle. It's just a little bent piece that is really short and handy for sticking through 3 stitches to be able to twist to make a cable. That's how they make those braids on people's knitted things. A stitch holder, which is just like a big safety pin, where you can put some stitches onto it and then clip it shut, and the stitches stay there where you want them. They come in all different sizes and colors. A row counter, which is just something you slip onto your knitting needle and you twist it to show each row that you knit, and it can count so that you can, what row was that I was on, that kind of thing. Stitch markers, which are just like little bitty pins that you can put on your needle to mark what stitch your pattern is supposed to be done. Like knit 3, then you need to do a pattern. You can put one of those on there, and that you will keep track of which stitch you're supposed to do the pattern on. So yarn needle is just a great big needle with a great big eye, so yarn can fit through it easily, and you can sew your knitting things together. So knitting, just playing with string is all it is. You can knit yarn, you can knit box ties, you can knit things that people send you that are tied together. So there's only 2 basic stitches in knitting. Knit, which is from front to back, and purl, which is from back to front. Knit is through the loop, go around, take it over, take it off. Through the loop, go around. I'm going to increase one. So around, over, off. Through, around, over, off. That's all there is to it. It's a matter of letting your fingers get used to what you're doing, so it's muscle memory, so it's something you're familiar with. Through, around, over, off. Through, around, over, off. I am now retired, and when it's too hot for me to play in the garden, or the weather's not right, stormy, or I can't be out there playing with the digging in the dirt, making plants help grow, this is something I've hoped to do as a way of honoring my mother, honoring my grandmother, to be able to show and tell one of the skills that I've learned. So over the years, it's gotten to the point where I don't have to look what I'm doing because my fingers know. But when you first start, it'll all feel very awkward. Even just how to touch the yarn to make a stitch can take minutes and hours to learn. But it's okay. It's just fuzz. It's not like you can hurt it. And if you make a stitch and it's wrong, take it apart. There's something called tinking. Tinking is where you take the needle and you put it in the stitch that you just made and flip it off. Put it in the stitch you just made, flip it off. It's just taking one knit stitch off at a time so that you can go back to where you made the mistake. There's also something called frogging. Frogging is when you find, oh my gosh, I made a mistake all the way back here and I have to rip out rows and rows and rows and fix it. You just take everything off the needles and just rip it, rip it, rip it, so it sounds like a frog. So it's just to be recreational. It's to be fun. It's to be something to play with. So you're never bored. You pull up to a parked train and the train's going to be an hour stopped on the tracks. No big deal. Reach in the back seat, you got a project. You just sit there and play with your fuzz until the train moves or whatever. Mom said always take a project. No matter where you go, have something to work with. All right, so I've come to the end of my, this is one of the sayings, I've come to the end of my rope. So there's the end of my yarn. That's the end of that skein. So I'll take this one, and I'm just going to take it apart so I can open it up so I can get another skein. I should actually wear the glasses. I live around here, and this is our community, and when people talk about development, this is what I picture, is taking something that's natural, that's useful, that's helpful, and teaching skills that have been used for thousands of years. People have been playing with fuzz and making things that keep them from freezing to death, or pad things, or fasten things together for as long as critters have been making fuzz. The entire wool trade used to be one of the most financially viable things in the whole world. Completely renewable resource because these wool-bearing animals need to be shorn each year so that they don't get too hot and so that they don't go out in the freezing cold when they have their babies and let their babies freeze. The sheep feel warm, so they don't feel anything bad about being out in the cold, but their brand new little wet babies do. All right, so here I've found the place where I've tied this skein together. And since I'm crazy about preserving every inch of the stuff that I spun, I'm going to take it apart rather than just cutting it out. My phone number is 812-230-8190. It's a cell phone. And I would love to help teach new generations of people how to use resources we have around us to make things that can be appreciated forever. All right, so here is this skein of yarn that I spun, and I'm just going to put it on my knees so that I can roll up a new ball. People used to do this by sticking out their hands. And they put the yarn skein on their hands like this, and then the person would roll the ball up while the other person held it up to help. And those are some of my warm memories of a child when I could hold the skein up for my mom while she would roll it up into a ball so she could use the new skein.
I have a section where we go.
So there are classes available here in the Wabash Valley and in the state of Indiana that are funded classes learning how to shear sheep, which is basically just learning how to be a sheep's barber, to cut their wool off so that it can be scoured, which is the fancy word for getting the grease out of it that the sheep makes the lanolin. And then there are tools that are used to card or it's like combing, brushing the wool so that the fibers can all be lined up and the burrs and dirt and hay and things like that can be combed out of them. And then the fibers are spun, just twisted. You can use a stick to twist them, you can use a piece of wire to twist them, but so much more effective and so much more functional to use a spinning wheel. I have found friends everywhere I've gone who actually let you borrow their spinning wheel and teach you how to use it, as long as you're careful and kind and work with each other. So my dad, who had worked his whole life, had gotten to the point where he was retired and was really basically needing something constructive to do with his time. And so I got him a spinning wheel that had 2 treadles, kept his feet busy. Spinning yarn kept his hands busy, kept his feet busy, because the fuzz, he would pull the fuzz and twist it on the spinning wheel. And then after he passed away, we found cases of balls of yarn that he had made, which are now absolutely priceless. Some of it's made out of alpaca, some of it's cotton, all different breeds of sheep, because he would go around to the different fairs and ask people what they were going to do with their sheep fleeces, and a lot of people just gave them to him. You can also go on the internet and type in sheep fleece, and you'll find people who are very careful with their animals. Some of them even make specifically crafted coats that the animals wear to keep them from getting burrs and hay and grass and stuff like that mixed into their fiber. And you can find wool fleece anywhere from free, if you look for it, to I'll cut your grass and you can give me a sheep fleece, or trading for whatever works out for you. Or you can go as far as to some fleeces are $10 a pound. Anywhere in between. Generally, if you really want to be, I picture a 17-year-old wrestler who wants to be independent and do their own work and call their own shots and do their own job. A male or female who can still move learn how to shear sheep, and you could go all over the entire state or world doing a craft that's been around for thousands of years. And the end of this month, I'll be going to the biggest sheep event in the entire United States and have a wonderful time looking at hundreds of different examples of dozens of different breeds of sheep. But they'll also have camels and bison and yaks and bunnies and all sorts of animals that produce fibers that people can use to make things from. And there's a saying, there's no bad fiber, there's just poor choices of the fiber that you have
And then I put that
to use. Like you wouldn't want to put scratchy fiber next to a baby's skin, and you wouldn't want to put soft fiber on the bottoms of your feet that you're just going to walk a hole in the bottom of it. So, but there are fibers that have literally lasted 100 years. The cassocks that the monks wear, made from certain breeds of sheep, and the wool is tough enough that it lasts for 100 years. And there are carpets that are the most high quality carpets made of sheep's wool. That it's absorbent, it's flame retardant, it's biodegradable, it's amazing. The one year that I worked with my niece, her kids and a bunch of community kids had been doing sheep and wool for 4-H, and they had literally a garage full of bags of fleeces that they no longer wanted, the ones that had been chosen and taken home, they had kept, and there were an entire van load of fleeces that she gave me. I was able to sort through the ones that I wanted, and the ones that I didn't use or couldn't use, or the ones that had gotten moldy or dirty, or I literally put them between the rows of my strawberry plants in the garden, because I didn't want to use any kind of chemicals on the strawberries, because little kids get out there and eat the strawberries straight out of the field, and I didn't want them to get any chemicals. So to keep the weeds down, I literally just spread wool on the ground around the plants. It absorbs water, it degrades over time, it's very good fertilizer as it biodegrades, and it lasts for a couple years. And so I just threw a little bit of sawdust on top of it to disguise it and hold it down. It soaks up water, so even if on a parched year, the plants are moist and stay healthy, and the weeds stay down. I don't have to be out there on my old knees weeding near as much, and it's just plain fun. There's got to be a balance in your life between work and play. That's why they call it recreation when you're playing. All right, so I'll get back up here close. There's my new ball of yarn that I just wound up from my skein. I've made myself a knot here. As long as you don't pull it tight, you're fine. You just tease it loose. Things can be fixed. My dad did this when he was in his 80s. Like I said, because he needed something to keep him busy, he needed something to make his mind work, and he needed something to be productive. And it kept his hands moving, it kept his feet moving, it kept his mind busy. It was entertaining. He made friends all over the entire United States that would send him certain types of fleece, and he would send them pictures of the things that he had made, or he would spin something, I would knit something and send it back to them. And there are people who remember him very fondly because of the things that they have that were made by him. He was holding my brother's 135-pound Great Pyrenees dog and combing it because he said it needed to be combed, and bringing me Walmart bags full of the most beautiful fluffy white fur. And he'd bring me these bags and say, make something out of it, Mary J. And that's when I thought of getting him a spinning wheel, because I said, Dad, I don't spin, I knit. And he said, well, if I had a spinning wheel, I'd fix it. And so that's when I thought, oh my God, something to keep his hands busy, something to keep his feet busy, something to keep his mind busy. And it was fabulous. once he got good at it and got to be having a lot of fun with it, he one time took his spinning wheel to a retirement home, and the lady who does activities for the retirement home said some of the people that came out of their rooms hadn't been so involved and interested in months. And as we were sitting there at a table with a bunch of people sitting there, we just handed a blob of fuzz to each person while we were talking and while he was spinning, and just like this, just sitting and talking. And at one point, we saw one of the guys taking his piece of fuzz and doing this with it. And we thought maybe it was just being confused or being elderly and didn't think a whole thing of it. But I noticed as he's playing with it, it turned into the most beautiful fine thread. It turned out he used to be a tailor, and he used to hand make suits that were extremely expensive at a store when he was a young man. And so you never know when you give something to somebody to help engage their brain and engage their hands, how recreational it will be. So here I've got my new skein of yarn all wound up into a ball with natural fibers like wool and flax and rabbit fur and things like that. You can do something called a spit splice. I had never even heard of it. It's where you take the fiber. I have more than one filament here called ply. There's 2 layers of it. So I'm just going to split it and make it single. You see one of them's longer than the other. Do the same on the other end of this one. All my life I had tied knots, and then when I tie the knot, when I'm working my scarf or sweater or socks or whatever I'm making, I would have to stitch in the ends of the tied knot so that they would be not so noticeable, not make a lump, and not be sticking out of the product, so that it would look finished. And a friend of mine taught me, with natural fibers, you don't have to do that. You just take the different fibers, you lay them out beside each other, make it wet. This is why it's called a spit splice. Splice because any rope that you fasten together by intertwining the filaments, it's called splicing. And you have your fluid right there. So you just line it up. I've got them so they're offset, so there's 2 plies back here and 1 here, 2 plies back here and 1 here. I'm going to twist them around each other, which is the same as plying 2 fibers together.
What are you looking for? Upstairs, first bedroom.
So wool is a fiber that's hollow, that's surrounded with scales, and those scales are microscopic. When you moisten them and rub them together, they actually fuse, called felting, which is a whole nother process. Anybody like Stetson hats? Stetson hats that are really, really nice are made of wool, and they are pressured and steamed and pressed together so that the fibers, the scales, mat together, felt together, and it becomes solid to the point it's rainproof and priceless to some people. They wear them for generations. So all I did was twist it together, wet it a little bit, rub it, and that makes the scales line up on each other and fuse. When we were in Russia, we wore felted slippers, which were just thick wool that had been wet and rubbed together. One of the crafts I did at this elementary school one year, which was a lot of fun and really entertained the art teachers because they got to come to the house and take away paper ream boxes full of fleece that I didn't need anymore. They had students. See, can't even tell where it starts now. The fibers are all matted together and it makes one strand. So the children that were at this art teacher's room for a Christmas present, they all got a bar of ivory soap, and all they had to do was take a blob of whatever kind of wool that they liked the color, wrap it around the bar of soap, get the bar of soap wet, and just rub it while they were talking. Just rub it, rub it, rub it, rub it, and it made an entire case around the soap. And that made a perfect present for the person that they were taking it home to, because then you just lay it up on the shelf wherever you want it, and when you want to wash your hands, you just pick it up, wet it, rub your hands on the soap bar, and the felted wool has made a case around it, and it just, then you put it back up there and it absorbs the moisture and rinse your hands. Really cool present. Inexpensive, simple, and very special because you made it with your own hands. I would love to teach people. Doesn't matter if you're 6 or 76, it doesn't matter. If you've got an ability to hold things and do things, love to teach you how to knit. If you're interested, you can use straight needles, curved needles, cheap needles. The library actually has an entire room full of contributed yarn and lots of needles, and it's a wonderful, wonderful community resource. It's a safe, warm, lit place to come and share some time. So, knitting, just playing with thread, playing with string. It can be thick stuff, you can knit on broom poles, or it could be thin stuff that makes something that looks like a lace when you're done. But it's all the same thing. It's just playing with a loop. One loop at a time, stick it through, take it around, take it over, take it off. Through, around, over, off. So, this is me. I play with fuzz. And this is one of my ways of honoring my mother, who passed all these skills along, and now I have been able to make mittens and slippers and jackets and sweaters and blankets and afghans and whatever basically you can think of. If you reach down, if you're wearing a shirt and look at it very closely, chances are it's knitted. If it's stretchy, like a t-shirt, bet you that it's knitted from polyester or cotton or whatever fiber they choose to use, with tiny, tiny little stitches. That's what makes it so warm and flexible and stretchy, is that it's knitted fiber, knitted fabric. And when I hear development, this is the kind of thing I hear, is that take backyard area and have a project that goes from grass to animal to fiber to fabric to fun. So you need to get a hold of me. The Clinton Public Library has my contact information, and it's just fun. I appreciate your time, and now since it's such perfect weather outside, I think I'll go transplant some strawberries. And if I had a bunch of waste fleeces that nobody wanted, I'd use that for the mulch around the bottom of the plants, because they hold moisture around their roots. They don't dry out. Much more viable. They don't dry out when the weather is dry. And they're soft and easy to make a hill for the strawberries to grow down. So lots of fun. I came to the end of the row, so thank you for your time.